Vav. Faromer b'Shabbos. Fascinating machlokas in Masechta Shabbos. Mars and Shabbos, Mem Vav, Amud Aleph. And there the Gemara speaks about this concept of Pascha Zu Amasam. So let's just review the words. Pascha Zu Amasam is the shot that when we were in Gan Eden, we did the chet of the Eitz Hadas. So the Nachash injected a Zuama poison into mankind. According to Chazal, it was an actual sexual relationship between the Nachash and Chava. And that was the Zuama. It became part of our destiny and part of what we are. So that's the Zuama. As long as we have that Zuama, which is the Yetzer Hara, which is the Ra within us, as long as we have that Zuama, so we're not in Gan Eden. You can't. In other words, the Zuama is a stira when you have a Yetzer Hara. I was thinking that probably this is what Chazal mean when they say Hu Yetzer Hara, Hu Asam, Hu Malach Hamavos. Saying something. I mean, what do I know? But it doesn't seem like it's the same character. Hu Yetzer Hara is that, which says, eat the cake. Satan, I'm not sure exactly what that is. And the pashtus of Satan, and the Malach Hamavos is the one who kills you. So the pshat is that it all is the Zuama. It's all the same thing. It's all the Zuama. There's the Zuama Sanachash.
This happened before Adam ate from the tree. This is what enticed Chava.
That's what enticed Chava. And then there's two dinim here. There's the relationship, and then Adam get involved because he also ate from the Eitz Hadas. Meaning, without the relationship, there would have been no taiva for the Eitz Hadas. So this is, we always get into this circular dilemma with the Gan Eden. But anyways, that was the Zuama. So the three bad things, Kilu, the Yetzer Hara, the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, and the Malach Hamavos. I heard once, I might have mentioned this, I heard once from Rav Haber, that's how in the name of, I believe he said the name of the Ramak. He said that the Yetzer Hara is always when the thing that you want is on the outside. It's a taiva. Yetzer Hara is taiva. I am mishtokeg to this piece of cake. I really want it. So that's Yetzer Hara. Then you go and you eat the cake. So now it's part of you. Hu Hasam. It went from Yetzer Hara bachutz to the Satan bifnim, where it actually starts to do damage. And if you let it go, Hu Malach Hamavos, it'll kill you.
Why did she have
It's all one thing. So the Zuamas Hanachash, you can understand, is taking us from. You can see the Nachash starts. You can see how this unfolded in Gan Eden. You see the Nachash entices Chava. That's Yetzer Hara. Then who has Satan? They ingested whatever they ingested, and Hu Malach Hamavos, and we're going to Risa Le'olam. In other words, the mortality of man began at that point. So that's all the Zuamas HaNachash, which we're trying to get rid of, traveling through the human condition.
Before the Eitz Hadas, how did you entice Chava to a relationship?
There was taifa, but it wasn't something that we felt inside. It was something outside. Nisayim, he says, the getter of Nisayim. So there was something. The Lashon of the Zohar, it's Yetzer Hara b'chutz, Yetzer Hara b'fnim. It's outside. We have that's not so hard to
So
understand.
he didn't force
We have a lot of Yetzaharas that are not so compelling, like Yitzhar, but b'chutz. Like I wish I was a place, I wish I was in the Caribbeans today, sitting on the beach. Okay, beseder. Like it's not a Yitzhar b'chutz. Okay, yeah, I wish I had $100 million. Okay, but it's not the same as the cookie. It's not the same. It's not the same as like. But right now, I just ate fleisches, but I want this milk. It's a different type of a thing. It's much more compelling. So that's the Yitzhar b'fnim. I'm hungry. I have a type before it. So now the trick is you got to get rid of this zuama. How do you get rid of the zuama? How to get rid of the zuma? So here they have in the Gemara that there's a machlekes. Yaakov, one day it says, Yaakov paska zuama. That by Yaakov Avinu, he, after going through all of history and finally getting to Avraham and to Yitzchak and to Yaakov and to those birurin, by the time it came to Yaakov, so it was paska zuamasa. That was the end of the zuma. That's what Yaakov Avinu did. They purified through Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. It means to say that by Avraham, he was a tzaddik. Why wasn't a paska zumasim? But you see, he had a Yishmael. Yitzchak was a tzaddik. Why don't we say paska zumasim? We say a Nesach. But by Yaakov, we see that all of that ra got out of the system. So it means to say they have to be mavatal, going from the back up, they have to be mavatal the whole union of Misa, Satan, and Yetzirah from everything. So Yaakov Avinu, before he died, said, Seder, because Yaakov Legalis is Hakates. Because once you're mavatal the Zuama, so there's the Mashiach is here. You're back in Gan Eden. You're back to where you belong. So Agam Deshama Amru the Pligi that if you say Yaakov is Pascha Zumasim L'chayr, that's a machlekes, says the Gemara Amanda Amar the Matan Torah Pasak, which is what's more oft quoted, that Matan Torah Klal Yisrael stood by Matan Torah Pascha Zumasim. So which way was it? So the machlekes. One says that by Yaakov Pascha Zumasim. One says by Matan Torah Pascha Zumasim. Zatrim Tzadoi Elu ve'elu divrei Elikim Chayim. Shnei Memes. Ubishvatim Atzmam Pasak. It's true that by Yaakov it was Pascha Zumasim, even by his sons, not the Shvatim, but by his sons Gufa Pascha Zumasim. But it wasn't Pascha Zumasim to the degree that the Mashiach is here.
Maybe Pascha Zumasim backwards of the 3 steps, outside, inside, and Lotus.
Maybe, or just that's not what he says. He says Pascha Zumasim Bishvatim Atzmam Pasak. For them it was Pasak Zumasim. Meaning an individual tzaddik could come to the Madrega, a Pascha Zumasim. Ziyachim. V'chein bezarim hashalsheles hanimshach l'dar hamidbar. That Bechina was there and went through history. That what Yaakov Avinu and the Shvatim accomplished can't be discounted. Avalai nivsak adayin legamri, but it wasn't an entire eradication of the Zuama. Leo's Kozarim came Megamri that all the children are now Tzadikim, Amechum Tzadikim. Don't say that. Sharei, what's our raya? Shaharei hayu Rishayim Shemesu b'mei afelu. Because the fact of the matter is that there were Rishayim in Mitzrayim. So what happened to the Pascha Zumasim?
So that could be from outside.
Well, there was Rishai Yisrael. There was from the outside.
I'm saying that, but the influence there was time for them to become like in Gan Eden, where an outsider came. Like the first stage, like Rav Haber says, it's bachutz at first. So now it's bachutz, but so it would have to come back in them to be an internal.
They killed them. But in other words, I presume that once I think you made this point. Once you get to the point of real Pascha Zumasim, well, that's not true because my Matan Torah also went back. We also backtracked. But there's always this backtracking possibility. But anyways, so they couldn't go on with the process. And here's a huge chiddush. After Matan Torah, we came to a whole new Madrega of Afal Pishachata Yisrael, who Shekvar Bacharon Hashem Yisbarach La'amoy, the Efshaloi Liparei Klal, Afilo Aidei Hagdolos Havainos, Leinatik Shem Yisrael, Mimenu, Vahaino Aidei Sherish, Mamaki Alei Madovah Hashem Yisbarach. So, this is phenomenal, that we have to make a distinction between the Avos and Matan Torah, and between the Pascha Zuamosim of Yaakov and the shevatim, and the Pascha Zuamosim of Matan Torah. To put it very simply, there was a paradigm shift that took place at Matan Torah, which didn't take place any time earlier, even with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Something different took place. What took place? That in a way you can't backtrack, the way I'm understanding it. By Yetziat Mitzraim, by the Avos, okay, Pascha Zuamosim, there were individuals. Something kept on going, but they died. Mishraim died in the Shloshis Yemei Afela.
But everyone else were still had the bechina of
some kind of a bechina, but you could. In other words, the way I'm understanding this is that until Matan Torah you could opt out. There was a possibility of opting out of this group called Klal Yisrael, Shepaska Mehen Zuamas. You can re-intake the Zuama. But once Matan Torah happened, as he says, once Matan Torah happens, we say Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael. See, Mashenkin Achar Matan Torah, there we say Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael. It's a Gemara in Sanhedrin. That even if a Jew does an Avera, he remains a Jew. The Mashmois is that in Mitzrayim, I never knew this. In Mitzrayim, the Jews, let's call them the Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that didn't want to go along with Moshe Rabbeinu in the whole program here, the whole emancipation, so they opted out. What happened to them? They died. Misa. They opted out of the program.
So it's not 4/5 of the Jews, it's 4/5 of the people that were Bnei Avraham, Yaakov.
Uh-huh.
Bnei Yisrael.
There were no Jews.
Bnei Yisrael.
Bnei Yisrael, but
No, I think either we became Jews when we left Mitzrayim, we became Ham, the ones that made it to that finish line, or we became Jews in Matan Torah. But until then, we were Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael.
It's not really much of opting out. If they were Chayav Misa, you can't really say they opted. I mean, it wasn't like it was a choice. They died in Mitzrayim, so they.
Why were they Chayav Misa?
I don't know. If I mean, they were comfortable.
Doesn't say they were Chayav Misa. Rashi says it was a.
If they could have said, "We don't want this," they were Chayav
No,
Misa.
meaning it was a Chil Hashem, so they died. Shloshim Yafel, as Rashi says.
They were Jews.
They have Jews walking around that were non-believers.
But they were Jews.
But there wasn't they weren't given a second chance. Before we apparently we could say, I don't know how he does this. It's a finish to research it a little bit. But apparently what he's saying is that before Matan Torah there was still an option to opt out. You could still do that and not be part of the Klal Yisrael that goes out. Not be part of the Matan Torah.
That doesn't sound like an option.
Whereas it just says what?
Death is not an option to opt out.
Maybe it's the opposite.
Well, maybe they didn't know they were going to die.
Maybe it's the opposite. It's an option too. There was no option out. I mean, everybody was out. The default was being out. As an option to get into the Wheeler program.
They were already in.
Then he was a
There were the Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov.
So what? Pascal Zuma to some degree very limited.
I mean, so it's semantic, huh? It's a.
Because they weren't zeicher. They were not zeicher.
I'm just saying, but it's semantic. It's semantic. So
no, they weren't zeicher to come out. That's why they died. That's pashut. It's not they missed it because
they were Rishayim. That's why they died.
That's right, because they weren't zeicher to come out. They all.
Asharei, how you Rishayim? No,
there
there was still there's 2 points here. There was still an option to be Rishayim, even though we went through the Bureau of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and even though Yaakov Avinu said Mitasi Shlema, and it was Pascha Zuama. What does it mean Pascha Zuama? In other words, there was still some Zuama in Avraham. There was still some Zuama in Avraham in the sense that there was a Yishmael. and there was still some Zuma on Yitzchak since there was an Esau. But there was no Zuam on Yaakov. So if there was no Zuam on Yaakov, so how was there Rishayim in Mitzrayim? It's a Choliot. So forget about the opt-out clause. Because how could there be Rishayim? So the answer is that it wasn't such a strong Pascha Zuam Asa.
But just like in Gan Eden, I mean, there's Bechira Chalshis, and so
See, in Gan Eden Gufa, right? Gan Eden Gufa, there was this. It's hard Rishayim. Okay, Rishayim. So you can have those two things. You can have Pascha Zuam Asa, Rishayim. The difference is, he says again, I don't know exactly how he knows it. The difference is Mashiach came Acher Matan Torah. That's what happened with Mitzrayim. Okay, so far so good, right? It's clear. It's still Rishayim, Pascha Zubasa, but it wasn't complete. Pascha Zubasa, the Harai, they still had the Yitzchak Hara, they still had something, they still had a Baal Chabava, so they died. Mashiach came Acher Matan Torah, and here the Gemara says that wasn't a complete Pascha Zubasa. The Gemara says on Shabbos there was a deeper Pascha Zubasa that took place at Matan Torah. Mashiach came Acher Matan Torah, Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael was introduced. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, Matan Dalet, does say that in Matan Torah came out a new idea of Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael. Now, it's hard to understand because even in Matan Torah, you see the same thing. Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain, took Sheva Levi, killed all the people that were Isaac of the Egel, but there the Gemara bothers to say that it was the Eir of Ra. Amcha Asher Yitzchak Mitzraim. Amcha. Lo Yami. Okay, it was Eir of Ra. But there's a new gather of Pintul Yid here of Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael who that you can't get out of being Jewish.
Who was Eirav? I mean, really,
Mitzvah. That's right.
So why not kill off the Erev Rav and not fly Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael?
Could have. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't. Moshe Rabbeinu kept on protecting them.
What's that?
Moshe Rabbeinu kept on protecting the Erev Rav.
Ah.
They mean well, they're good people. Apparently saw himself as bringing Torah to the whole world, anybody who wants. Okay, that's a different Nakuda, but the point is that the Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael who was Nischadesh Matan Torah.
So how does that translate to Pascha Zuam?
The Pascha Zuam Muslim is that you can't become Lagamri evil any longer.
Because now we're.
In other words, after Yaakov, we were able. Here's what I'm understanding. I'm hoping I'm right. After Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov was Pascha Zubasa, but there was still an opportunity to become Lagamri evil. Mesu b'shloishes yivafel. Ad kedei kach is Mesu b'shloishes yivafel. Once we got to Matan Torah, which might be the Luchos Shniyos, to make this a little more complicated, but once we got to Matan Torah, so we say Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael. There's no more Mesu b'shloishes. So Ab Taichi. That means that there's no opt-out clause here. There's no such thing as I became a Buddhist or a Mitzri or anything else. You're Jewish, that's all.
It used to be possible when we see Jews who are.
So that's the Pascha Zubasa. There was a Bechida Pascha Zubasa about Torah, which means that Afal Pi Shechata Yisrael. There are no Jews that have nothing. Hard to believe sometimes.
Was where it actually took. The first Luchos it didn't take.
I believe that this is talking about the second Luchos. I'll show you in a minute. I believe that the first Luchos was supposed to be a complete Pascha Zubasa, a complete Pascha Zubasa, and it didn't work. And Kadosh Baruch Hu said, come with me, I'll just destroy all the Jews, just like Lloyd Pascha. The program didn't work. The program of Matan Torah was not about getting the Torah. It was about lahafsik zu habasa. This is going to be our new mature understanding here. The purpose of Matan Torah was to get rid of the Zuama before we go into Eretz Yisrael, into the Promised Land, and we accept Tikkun the Chet of Adam Arisha, and get rid of everything that the Nachash and the Eitz Hadas did, and says the Gemara, the Matan Torah, Pascha Zumasam. So Pascha Zumasam, that was beautiful. We didn't have to eat. We had the Yisamesim in Matan Torah. It was Gevaldim. But in that Matzav Kufa, we built the Egel Hazav.
So over the following 40 years, was there supposed to be a cleaning out?
Absolutely. That's what the 40 years were for.
And did we do it?
I don't know. Let's go a line at a time.
Figure out the statistics.
Ava b'shechata Yisraelu shekvar bacharon. But here, let's be a medayik lashon here because he was careful. Let's us be careful. Shekvar bacharon Hashem yisbarach la'amai. Open up. Yeah. Shebacharon Hashem la'amai. This was about at this point. Once we got to Matan Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already chose us. What do we say every day? Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim ve. Thank you. Glad you came. V'las halanu es teiras. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'las halanu es teiras. He gave us the Torah, Sachadol. He did give us the Torah. So if he gave us the Torah, it means that there was a Pascha Zohabasa, but it was in a different way than the one by the Avos, because it wasn't that we chose Hashem, it's Hashem chose us. Once he chose us as his people, Hashem doesn't back out. We back out sometimes, but Hashem doesn't back out. So now, what does it mean that Hashem doesn't back out? That even if we back out, he's still there. So is that good or bad? Not so good. You say, why are you being overed over the Torah? Well, I opted out. Sorry, there's no opt-out clause. So you're gonna burn in hell. There's no way out over here. What are you doing eating treif? I'm not religious. There's no such clause over here. Why? But on the one hand, the other hand, it's very beautiful that everybody has this fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose me. So it's a dilemma. Shekvar bacharad Hashem yisbarach la'avay v'efshar loy lipared klal. Who's this loy going on?
Sure.
Hashem. He can't be like he's permanent. He's not like us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does something in that sach. So we efshar loy lipared klal. He's stuck with us. Afilu ha'yidei hagdolos ha'avodos. No matter how many avodos do, so he'll destroy the base of Mikdash. We're here. You see, I said on Shabbos, and I think this is like really relevant here. We're talking about the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah. Why are they called the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah? Because by the Chorban Bayis Rishon, Ba Yirmiyah, and he said, Aye Noira Oisav, where how can Moshe Rabbeinu say, Gadol Hagibar Ba Noira, Aye Noira Oisav, Aye Vuroisav, the Nevi'im said. Until the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah came and said, Hein Noira Oisav. And the Gemara explains, what's Hein Noira Oisav? That how could it be that after all of the chatayim that we did, and after all of the times that we were prey to the goyim, P-R-E-Y, to the goyim, and after all the efforts to destroy Israel, Yerushalayim, the Beis HaMikdash, and the Jewish people, alachnu po. Like here it's Ezra, and the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah, after Haman, bringing everybody back into Eretz Yisrael. So they said, hey, Noiros. But the fact of the matter is, this is the Noira of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what does it mean? What is the awesomeness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The awesomeness of Hashem is that He chose us. Exactly. Like at the end, he's not going to. He might let individuals go, but Netzach Yisrael lo yishach. The Jewish people will keep on going. So isn't that Noira? So the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah, with the benefit of history, looked at HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, wow, he is awesome. That is a pretty awesome thing. And this is not a matter of belief any longer. It's a matter of history. Here, Nebuchadnezzar, Haman, and who knows who the heck else tried to kill us and destroy us. Just in that short 100 years. Tried to kill us, exiled us, poisoned us, we went by the Nahar Pras, they gave us poison, like everything to try to kill the Jews, and here we are. Not only here we are, what are you up to now, Jews? Creating a Talmud Bavli. It's like we're trying to, creating a Talmud Bavli. What are we up to? We're up to Hillel and Shabbat. We're up to Shmorim Talmidim. The birds are flying over his head and crashing. Like it's unbelievable how you just can't kill these people. So this is so in a certain bechina there is a pascha zuhamasa. But the Pascha Zumasam came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's side, as I'm understanding it. And the Luchos Rishonos, that would have worked out. It would have been, we call it Stadim, Anila Doidi V'Doidili. But it didn't work out. So the Pascha Zumasam now needs more history, like you're saying there, more history, more Golos, more Torah Shemapeh, more, let's call it the Bechina, the Luchos Shniyos, like we learned the other day, to be able to complete the process. There's a process here. There's a process. But this part of it is there already. This part of it, of Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishakir, is there already, which wasn't there in Mitzrayim. So we have here so far a Chidush Nifla, which needs a Makar really, that there was a difference in not just the Machlokas in the Gemara, but Elu Ve'elu Divrei Elokim Chaim, he says, of whether Pascha Zumasam was by Yaakov or by Matan Torah. So the answer is a little bit here, a little bit more there.
So
Getting rid of that poison.
how does it, Shlit'a Shabbos fit? Because Shlit'a Shabbos seems to be based on the Maisim of the Avos. It's not, and it should have been there in Mitzrayim as well, unless that Shlit'a Shabbos was Toila on being Mikabel Torah.
I think it's exactly what he's saying. That Yaakov Avinu, which is Avos, culmination of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So that culmination is what got us out of Mitzrayim. That's the Shlit'a Shabbos. Shlit'a Shabbos got out of Mitzrayim. Still works for us. Where it says Adayin Shlit'a Shabbos, even though we went out of Mitzrayim, Adayin Shlit'a Shabbos, Oived Lanu, Beis Torah. Yeah.
In terms of Hashem choosing us, and we're the chosen people. That, collectively in the world, it is, everybody, we're the chosen people. For better or for worse, we're the chosen people. So, but Kadosh Baruch Hu put Avraham in the world. He brought him here. So, it's like very nice to say that I see a people, I see an Avraham. I'm choosing him for my Torah and to represent my ideals in the world. But he put Avraham in the world before. So, there's a sort of like, there's a combination here, like he planted him here. So did he choose him before he was born? Or was it a combination?
Hold on, but I mean, there's Asher Bachar Ba'Avram, but there was also the choice Avraham made.
No, so I'm saying, but also Avraham, he was given an opportunity, and he capitalized on an opportunity, so he earned the opportunity. So is that to say that Hashem planted in Avraham with the potential in every nation, and they just blew it?
Yeah. In fact, Avraham said, his thinking was, if I could speak for Avraham, I always get in trouble, but his thinking was, Lu Yishmael Yichdilu Fanecha. It's all done. Let Yishmael take over. He didn't have a Yitzchak. Hashem said to him, I'm going to give you a Yitzchak. So he's supposed to say, like, what be? I'm going to get Yitzchak. I'm going to get this is the biggest thing in the world. I'm going to have Yitzchak. He didn't say that. He said, Lu Yishmael Yichdilu Fanecha. I have Yishmael. But he gave me Yitzchak. Sarah was obviously upset about that there wasn't that she, right? Yirash ben Yitzchak. She says, like, no, forget about Yishmael. He's bad. But Avraham Avinu, he was good with Yishmael. Why? Because Yishmael is perfect from Avraham Avinu's point of view. At that, look at the Pascha Zumasam, if you will. At that stage in history, this is fine. He's a parad. Yodai Bakol. Biyad Kolba, he's a complete universalist. Everything's perfect. The whole world could become Islam, and we've got the Gula. We'll have it. Sarah and her Chachma said the Chachmas Nashim Batsa Beisa. That's what the Gemara is talking about. Chachmas Nashim is a Beisa. It's not going to come from the Islams. It's not going to come from the Arabs. It's not going to happen. Ayakumul Usachik. They're to Avodah Zarah, they're to Arayas, they're not they just don't have that. They don't have it. They don't have it. I just to answer your question, that there's this birur. So until we get it right, not Yishmael, Yitzchak, not Esav, Yaakov. Yaakov says, he looks at his sons before he dies and says, well, I've got a whole mitas yishleima. I've got got a whole enterprise here. Everybody is okay. So let me just sneak preview tomorrow. Just think about this for a second. Pascha Zumasa. According to that Mandomer in the Gemara, Shabbos, Kuf Mem Vav, Pascha Zumasa. So what does Yaakov Avinu say? I've arrived. He thought a little bit earlier he arrived because Yaakov Leisha B'Shalva. He thought a little bit earlier in the stories of the Parshios that Mashiach is here. Because Yaakov Leisha B'Shalva. Kafsal Avraham Avinu. There's still some Shechina. Still more to do. But okay, but by the end, the brothers made peace. Everybody's standing around his mitah. What a nachas that mitas is shleima. So what does he do? He says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Mamish the pasuk of Mashiach. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Bikesh Yaakov Leisha B'Shalva. No. Kafat Olav Rog Zeshli Yosef. L'dayin l'tzadikim. For this, what you've done so far, you'll get olam haba. But you haven't changed the whole world yet. There's still sinas chinam in the world. The brothers are still selling each other down the river. Because Yaakov Leisha B'Shalom. But by the end, he said, maybe I did it. So Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Bosok Rashi. Bikesh l'galois esakeitz. Oh, Mashiach is here. Let me tell you now about Mashiach. We've reached the Mashiach here. We got through it. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. We've gotten to the Tikkun of Gan Eden. We got past the Noach. We got past Lemach. We got past Kayin V'Hevel. Here we are. We tell Seder Shlomo. Can you imagine a family sitting in one room saying, we have now come to the point where the world has changed. Ubiyad, same thing. Nistalka Mimenu Ruach HaKodesh. We became Mavulbul in his Nevuah.
That case was the here and now? It wasn't like the future?
I believe it was that. I believe that if you look at Chazal, because Legalis says he wasn't telling them that in 2017 Mashiach was going to come. He's telling them what they needed to know. Hilchos of the Mashiach, or Shulchan Aruch. He was giving it to them right now. I think that if you look inside of the Chazal, the Mashmois is, but he still could be better Ruach HaKodesh, and he lost the Shechina, so, oh no. I thought we've arrived. I thought Mitasa Shlema. I thought that there's no Esav, there's no Yishmael here. So where'd the Ruach HaKodesh go? So he said, maybe one of you guys are not what you're portraying yourself to be. You guys, one of the holy sons of Yaakov. And what was their response? No. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Which we need to explain, but that was their response, that we're all into the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amar Yaakov, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay Le'olam Va'ed. Okay. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay Le'olam Va'ed. So Klal Yisrael said, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Very deep stuff. And Yaakov Avinu's response was, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay Le'olam Va'ed. Okay, what happened to Mashiach? So look at this symmetry for a second. The Luchos Rishonos did not work. Why? They were the Farhesi. Too much noise, too much publicity, too much koilos ubrokin, and the whole world shook, and startups never worked. So, second try. Let's launch Klal Yisrael again. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to the mountain. It's tshuva. Begs HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On Yom Kippur, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Salachti Kitvarecha, Seder. I forgive you for the golden calf. Here's the Luchos Shniyos. This time, though, the Chashoy. Quiet. Quiet. We spoke about it, but let's just talk about the symmetry. Klal Yisrael says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and Yaakov Avinu says, according to the Zohar, quietly, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay Le'olam Va'ed. Luchos Rishonos, Luchos Shniyos. The Gemara says that it was, in other words, the Gemara, the Litvish shot is that it's so fascinating, the Lashon of the Rishonim. Baruch Shem Kavai Malchus Le'olam, and we have to explain it. We'll explain it, but Baruch Shem Kavai Malchus is a pasuk. You know, where Baruch Shem Kavai Malchus Le'olam, like Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Baruch Shem Kavai Malchus Le'olam is a pasuk. Where's this pasuk? Where's the pasuk? In Chazal. Lashon of the Medrash is, it was a pasuk that Moshe Rabbeinu decided not to put into the Chumash. Wow, it's a pasuk. It should have been a pasuk. Moshe Rabbeinu decided.
He learned his lesson.
Chashai. There's a pasuk out there. There's a pasuk out there. Yaakov Avinu knew the pasuk. Just like Klal Yisrael knew how to say Shema Yisrael. Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is a pasuk. He came back and he said, "B'chashay Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus Le'olam." So the Gemara says like this. The Gemara says that the Anshe Yericho, time of the Gemara, Anshe Yericho, people who lived around Yericho, the Gedolim, refused to say the pasuk Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus Le'olam like we say. We say Shema Yisrael Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus. They don't want to say it. They said it's a design. So the other Chazal told them, Yaakov Avinu said, Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus Le'olam. This was not a medrash. In other words, it was Baruch. He said this pasuk of Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus Le'olam. Samuch to the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Yaakov Avinu said we should say it. So Nibnu v'Gabru that they should say it b'chashay. We'll say it, but we'll say it quietly. So we come up with this interesting pshar. Then on Yom Kippur, all of a sudden we scream out, Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus Le'olam. What is this? This is like a, we're in your face, Anshe Yericho. What's all of a sudden we're screaming on Yom Kippur, Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus Le'olam. What's the nekuda? So the answer is that, again, I'm saying we have to be mevar as next week. But the symmetry of it is just beautiful. The Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad Second Luchos Rishonos was b'far hesi. Screaming out Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's a big. I was telling somebody on Shabbos that I just remember my first day in Yeshiva Torah, or first night. I came from Meyer, became a night, and we were just talking about this. At Shabbos, and everybody said, we got to Shema, Meyer, Shema Yisrael, Rosh Hashanah is down for the Yahweh. Everybody Shema Yisrael, so I said the Shema, I'm supposed to do it, let's say Shema. And Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Elokeinu Hames, and I finish. And the guy next to me, Echod. I go, oh boy, this is going to be fun. For Yisrael girl, talk it sound. Oh, like, now what? I'm supposed to become a Talmud Chacham. So little by little, but the Farhesia, the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus represents Yaakov Avinu saying, I hear, but it's not right now, Mashiach. It's not like Pascha Zuamasan right now. It's not all over yet. This is what Yaakov Avinu realized. But Baruch Shem Kavei Malchus Le'olam, and I'll show you the words of Mashma. This is going to be a process. Luchos Shniyos. Think Luchos Shniyos. Luchos Shniyos is already a process. You carve it, you make it, you make the letters. I'll tell you what to do, but you do it. Moshe Rabbeinu disasher beluchos shniyos. He even got rich from the solos of the luchos shniyos. Very gashmias. And Torah Shabbat Peh, Chazal say, his luchos was all written in the luchos shniyos. That's why I said that I believe, we'll look at it, Aval Bishachata Yisrael, who talks about the luchos shniyos. Not the luchos shniyos. The luchos rishonos, we looked up, and we're makabel, paskas umasim, like paskas umasim could have been, but plan A didn't work because we built the egel. Plan B, luchos shniyos. A lot of tshuva, a lot of work, a lot of solacha, a lot of carving. No egel, but it was our process, our work. This is where it says represents Torah Shabbat Peh, Rava, Abaya, harving, working. Plan B. So that's b'chashoy. Why is it b'chashoy? The world is not shaking with the Torah Shabbat Peh.
Is there a lechachila value to Yisarus de la Eila first? So you do Rishon is first? Because otherwise...
Well said. Good point. It's a good point. It's hasn't heard that. You need the Yisarus de la Eila also. It's like... I always think about it as, you can't start your car. The guy comes with his cables, Sarusa de Leila, but you're not going to drive down the street that way. Standing next to him with the cables. It's not you can't. You got to get your own battery going. So you charge it. This Sarusa de Leila.
But if
you can start it.
If the startups are doomed to fail, why not just start with the gradual development?
Good question. It's a good business question.
I mean, here
it's a good business question, but I just know one thing. Like, if you're going to launch, you got to be ready to launch. You can't fail. So, a lesson that I learned from my great business was, if you're going to launch, make sure you know what you're doing. So it was an early launch there. Those Luchos were showing us. So we did not get the zoom out of ourselves. Let's just leave it with this.
I'm sorry. What did Yaakov Avinu see now that they weren't ready?
He saw that we have the need, that there was a paska zoamasa, but not legabri paska zoamasa.
And that's only Hakadosh Baruch Hu's Bar Chabanu? Is that
we need still a Matan Torah.
We need that.
And in Matan Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay, now paska zoamasa, no, we need a luchos shniyos. And the luchos shniyos takes 4,000 years, or 3,500 years to be Maskala until you get to Mashiach. So it's about inch by inch development.
Even Moshe knew it wasn't time, because otherwise he wouldn't have been in such a rush. And he was like, hurry, they're going to build an Egel Hazar, right? But that meant that if they were to get it...
We spoke about on Shabbos. Hashem said, Moshe Rabbeinu came to Har Sinai, and he said, okay, give me the Torah already. People are building an Egel up, they get nervous. I'm waiting for Rabbi Kiva. Who's waiting for Rabbi Kiva? Waiting for Rabbi Kiva. What do you want for Rabbi Kiva? Or bring Rabbi Kiva over here. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu said. You got a guy like that, bring him here. Shtok. There's a process here. The process is there has to be kapadoros until we get to what Rabbi Akiva has to be. What was Rabbi Akiva? The father of Torah Shabbat Peh, father of labor, of intense learning, the father of the Luchos Shniyos. So it's so meduya why we say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusa and Leil Aved quietly, because the Luchos Shniyos were said quietly. Now let's just leave this. Why do we say it loud on Yom Kippur? Because on Yom Kippur, we at least for the day, we're in the Madrego Pascha Su'avasa Lugan. Yom Kippur is Taka Kibalachim Nidmu. So Kibalachim Nidmu, we can say already Luchos Shniyos could be, it means the real Geula, except as an individual Geula. The real Geula is what we say in Kedusha, Hu Elokeinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Mosheinu. But Hu Yashmi'enu Shenis La'inei Kol Chai. It's going to be B'Pumbi, before Hesed. When Mashiach comes, what? Hu Yashmi'enu Shenis. There's going to be another Matan Torah. The Torah says, yeah. The Luchos Shniyos are going to be before Hesed. When there's a total gula, you can have a for Hu Yashmi'enu Shenis La'inei Kol Chai. V'Yos Lachem Le'Elikim. Yimlois Hashem L'Olam L'Kayim Dor B'Dor, because there's a Hamlach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, total Malchus. So we go to the Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusai getting loud, at least on an individual basis on Yom Kippur. Ultimately, we'll say that loud all the time, I believe. We'll say it loud all the time. But Yaakov Avinu said it quietly. We say it quietly, according to the Zohar. Yaakov Avinu said it quietly. It has to follow Shema Yisrael. So Luchos Rishonis, Luchos Shnios. So what we need, Adayin Yesh Levayer, like what does this pasuk mean? I just want to think about this over Shabbos. What does the pasuk mean altogether? Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusai. Just think about the words. Say it quietly, maybe we don't think about it as much. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusai Yolam Vayah. What does the pasuk mean? How is it not built to the Shema? Why did Yaakov Avinu say that pasuk? And why did Moshe Rabbeinu never put the pasuk into the Torah? It's a pasuk, and he never put it into the Torah. Chashay, until we scream it out on Yom Kippur and Yibos HaMashiach. So it's a fascinating background to the pasuk of Baruch Shem Kavod. So those we need to still be remembering.